Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I just had a job interview and I think I didn't do great. I did not do great. I hate job interviews. I can do the job. It's basically the same position that I'm currently in, but with a different company. I work in property management and I love it. I love it. I used to be a paralegal at one point, but then I'm like, nah, that's not my thing. But it taught me a lot to transition into the field that I'm in now. But I don't know. I don't think that interview went great, but we will see. And I just got a mixer delivered, and I'm gonna bake this weekend. I'm gonna bake this weekend. I'm not a baker. But I'm gonna throw it out. I'm gonna record a video and put it up so you guys can see. But anyways, I'm sure by now all of you have heard about the Shanquella Robinson case. Where the so-called friends, and Shanquella went on vacation and they unalived her. But, and if you haven't heard about that case, you're living under a rock, okay? Because it's all over YouTube. I'll post a link to one of the videos, providing the most updated information as of now. And if you're interested, you can go over there and take a look. But I wanted to talk about the Canadian case from Brampton, Ontario, which is basically not the same situation, but the situation of where friends, people that you think are your friends, and I'm saying friends in air quotes because you can't just be calling every and anybody your friends, okay? But this is a Canadian case from October 2012, but it wasn't solved until 2015, okay? And like I said, it's another case of so-called friendship that ended badly. So let's get into it. So on October 19th, 2012, Andrew Dacosta was found unalive in his home by his older sister. Andrew was 19 years old and lived at home with, like I said, his older sister, his mother, and his niece. So that day when they came home on October 19th, 2012, his niece was the one that actually noticed blood on the bathroom door and brought it to her mother's attention. And then Andrew's sister then followed the trail of blood to Andrew's room, and that's where she found that his room was in disarray. Like, clothes were thrown all over, drawers open. She then proceeded to her mother's room where the door was closed, and when she opened it, she saw her brother lying on the floor in a pool of blood with a chair on top of him. And I know YouTube is gonna flag me, but I can't mince and dice my words, okay? So it was determined that Andrew had been deceased for a few hours before his body was found. He was last seen alive at about 9:30, 10 o'clock that morning, and his sister didn't get home until about 5:30 in the evening. Whether or not she found him like right away as soon as they got into the house, or they were in the house for like an hour or so, and then I'm not sure. But in the court documents that I read, they surmised that he had been unalived for about 2 to 12 hours before his body was found. Or it could have been, So after the autopsy, it was determined that Andrew was jabbed, STABBED, that word, but I'm using jabbed, 8 times and had 12 incision wounds, which were probably defensive wounds. There was no signs of forced entry into the home, and no fingerprints were identified during the investigation, other than the fingerprints of the people that lived in the house. But they didn't find any fingerprints of anyone else or whatever. Andrew is described as a pleasant person. He loved basketball, joking around, and had a love for wearing sports jerseys. And he basically got along with everybody. He had recently started a new job at a manufacturing company. Now, they called him Freshie. That was his nickname, Freshie. So why would someone do such harm to him in his own home? Like, your home is your sanctuary, So police were called, obviously. They started their investigation and all of that. And the case went cold, or at least that's what they led the public to believe. On February 13th of 2013, police released a photograph of a person of interest, but it was grainy. Okay, I wouldn't, even if I knew you, I would not recognize you from that picture. They also did another search of the neighborhood, of Andrew's neighborhood, because they believed that the perpetrator had changed clothes after the attack. Possibly even wearing Andrew's own clothes. Like, you just came into my house and unalived me, and then you're going to wear my clothes. An arrest wasn't made until November 2015 when Dwayne Gordon, a friend, and I'm saying that in air quotes, was arrested and charged.
An arrest has been made in Brampton in a Brampton murder that happened 3 years ago. 19-year-old Andrew Dacosta was stabbed to death inside his home near Highway 50 and Cottrell Boulevard. That was in October 2012. Peel police now say 23-year-old Dwayne Gordon of Brampton was arrested today and is now facing a charge of first-degree murder.
They've known each other since high school. Okay? Police believe the motive for the crime was a breakdown between the friends over their weed transactions. Allegedly, Dwayne was Andrew's supplier. Now, of course, you know, they've been friends since high school. They had mutual friends and acquaintances, right? And among that group, they were talking, saying that Dwayne was the perpetrator. He had committed the murder. However, in court, only one of those friends came and testified about what she knew. Police also had a wiretap on Dwayne's phone. They had his phone records and video of him on the bus, you know, going to Andrew's house or his neighborhood, going back home. They had receipts from the A1 taxi, which is like the biggest cab company in Brampton. They had records of that, of him calling to get a cab and all of that. They also have surveillance videos from plazas in Andrew's neighborhood around the time of the unaliving. Dwayne Gordon was initially charged with first-degree murder, but police later lowered that charge to second degree, and he was convicted in 2018. He was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 14 years. And I'll tell you guys this. There's no such thing as life in prison in Canada. Yes, it's on the books, and yes, it sounds good, you know, to verbally say it, but there's only one person that I know of that has that's actually spending time in a Canadian jail for life, and that's Paul Bernardo. And I believe he will be released at some point when they think that he's no longer a danger to society. I think they'll release him at some point, unless, of course, he passes away in there. As I was saying, he was convicted and sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 14 years. He appealed that verdict, and it was recently denied in November of 2022, so just last month. So he's continuing to serve his sentence. And I came across this case in September of this year, and I couldn't really find that much info. Actually, no, I think I made a note of it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to look more into this case. I remember going on Canley, which is like the legal website where all court decisions are posted, and I couldn't find anything. And then last night I went back and the case was there. I'm like, luckily I waited, because all of the information that I'm saying right now, I wouldn't have had all that information. And I found one picture of Dwayne. I could only find one picture of him. And obviously it's in the video. But this is another story of a so-called friendship that ended badly. You know, and I'll post the link to the Canley document in the description. You can go and read everything there. His appeal was denied. I said that already, right? Yeah. So it was denied. And luckily he's off the streets, but he will be released at some point. Does he regret what he did? I don't know. But this is a sad case. 19 years old. You're just beginning to live your life. He had just started a new job, like I said. You know, there's nothing wrong with him smoking weed. I do it. There's nothing wrong with that. But for something as simple as that but again, I wasn't in their lives. I don't know what exactly went on. That's what police surmise. That's what they're assuming what happened, because he didn't go in and confess. Police did their investigation, and based on the evidence that they collected, that's what convicted him. So yeah, if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, please do so. Like, share, and leave a comment, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Let me know, have you ever heard about this case? What do you think about it? Not everybody is your friend. My grandmother used to tell me that all the time. And as a young kid, I used to just be like, okay, yeah, grandma, whatever. Well, I didn't say it to her, but I thought it in my head, because I'm a Caribbean kid, okay? Caribbean people like to beat. And especially back then in the 80s growing up, she would have whooped my butt. But I wish she was still alive today where I can go back and sit down with her and be like, you know what, grandma? Actually, I used to call her mommy. I'd be like, you were right. You were right. And you were spitting knowledge back then and I didn't listen. But now that I've grown and I've lived life, I can see exactly what you were talking about. So stay safe out there, y'all. Stay safe. Share the video, like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.